Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is Mandy here, and today I want to just talk through my process with what I've been going through. And I have been really blocked. However, I feel like I'm coming upon the cusp of change. So go ahead and grab your sketchbook and sketch along with me while I chat, or grab a cup of coffee so you can sit and enjoy. I'm drinking my coffee today with a little bit of cinnamon roll oat creamer by KOFI Farms, and I'm just relaxing this morning. It has been kind of rough here. We are just below the Canada fires, and so my allergies have just been awful this year. So if you hear a little bit of scratchiness in my voice, just know that I hear you, I understand, I'm sorry, but it's what it is right now. And I'm just having to deal with massive migraines and all these other great things because of it. So right now in the process, I had drawn and sketched this girl on a bicycle a few times, and then I took it to the iPad and I really refined it before I am tracing it onto a piece of watercolor paper, because I decided I wanted this to be a watercolor. I just love being able to paint, and so sometimes I struggle with figuring out what I'm gonna paint. And so I've been trying to do more of taking and refining my sketches. And so that's what I'm doing. I used my light box that I got off Amazon and I traced it. And then I started the painting. I sped this up quite a bit. This took longer than this video is, but I wanted to make sure that this video didn't get insanely long, because that's just crazy. But yeah, here I am mixing the skin tone. So I found a book that isn't released yet. I think it's released in September or August. No, this is August, but I think it's released in September or October. I'm not sure positive. I'd have to look it up, but I got a galley copy of it for preview, and it's about creative watercolor portraits. I highly recommend it, but it helped me with understanding skin tone colors and how to mix them. So if you saw, I kind of was mixing the skin tone there. I loved this book because I have been trying to figure out how to mix skin tones, and now I have this like little chart, and so I can't wait to have a physical copy of this book. The galley was so great. Quarto Publishing, oh my gosh, they just published some of the best work out there. They've published things for the Kawaii drawing different books. Ilaria Pop's book just dropped. Just a whole bunch of mess of books that I really enjoy for art. Like, I looked at a lot of the ones that I have, and most of them are Quarto Publishing. So I highly recommend checking out some of these books that I mentioned here. But I also need to do a whole video on my books. I need to really pull them out and actually do it, because I've been talking about it since I started my YouTube back in February. However, I don't know why I haven't done it yet. I think it's just one of those things that I keep putting off. I don't know, it's like one of those, like, when you want to read a book, because I find this for myself reading, I'm like, oh, I want to read all these books, and then they sit for months in my like to be read pile, and I have so many books to be read, and I just keep adding more to my read list, and I just don't get to them. And so that's kind of how it feels when it comes to like making YouTube videos. So I'm trying to come up with a schedule. This week I had 2 videos planned, and my health just took a nosedive. So you're getting 1 video this week, and there's not a book video because I didn't read much this week. I might finish a book video later, but we'll see. I did actually finish 2 books now, and so I feel pretty accomplished because I had not finished a book at all in August, and this is art content, I do know. However, this whole YouTube channel, I do both art and books, and so it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I feel so weird that I didn't get books done. And so, yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at right now with books and things. So when I'm looking at these colors, I did actually think about the colors. I knew that I wanted her shirt to be pink because I have been in a pink moment, if you haven't noticed, with like all my Barbie content and everything. I am really feeling the pink. I have been a pink girl forever. I love pink and I love purple and I love bright candy colors. And over this past year, I kind of lost that because I've been working on a book, a children's book. I mentioned it a few times that I am working on it. I put it on hiatus because I just needed a break. I wasn't feeling like myself, and I was really struggling because I'm using a lot of nature colors because it's a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. However, now I'm like, oh, maybe I need to morph it even more because I don't know if I'm feeling the nature colors. I don't know if I'm feeling Little Red Riding Hood. I was when I started, and it was a Little Red Riding Hood retelling with a dragon, and it's a really cool concept, and I want to come back to it, but I did get burnt out from taking an intensive course with Beatrice Blue, and so I'm just trying to figure out like what it is that brings me joy when it comes to art. I am currently reading through a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I am on week 1, and I think it's going pretty well. Like, I'm taking it as a course, like I have treated a lot of the different things that I've done. I'm taking it and I'm treating it like a college course. I'm following week by week, and so I'm just on week 1. I am really enjoying setting up some routines for writing in the morning pages, and so it's kind of just trying to unblock myself because I have been so art blocked. I think a lot of it is because I lost the joy in figuring out what my art expression is, and that is what the long version of talking about choosing colors for this, because I knew that I wanted her shirt to be this bright opera pink. I wanted the things around it, around the shirt, to be less of the spotlight. So I was thinking about complementary colors. I was thinking about things that kind of blend and kind of go together, but also they aren't as popping and primary. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about. I've learned more. I'm not an expert. I am still learning about color and theory and things that go together, but I did learn in Beatrice Blue's class quite a bit on what she does when she's doing main characters, and she tries to incorporate all 3 of the primary colors. And so I really thought about that. I wanted the bike to be its own character, kind of. And so I did that one in the primary blue, but I wanted her legs to blend in with it, kind of like they're one. So I kind of did a cool blue as the beginning tone, and then I layered, you'll see later, I layered over it with some warms. And her hair is yellow, or blonde, so it's like the 3 primary colors are in the piece in different ways, and so they're kind of playing together as like a harmony, but I wanted each character to be a character, and she has all 3 of the primary colors on her body herself, but the blue is I tried to get it to be pretty close, like family wise. Different values obviously as the bike, because the bike, I am so proud of this bike. It was hard work to get this bike to look kind of like a bike. I have never been really great at drawing bikes. I've never really been great at drawing props and things until this last couple years, since I focused on doing a lot of prop work, doing a lot of backgrounds, doing a lot of these things, because when I was younger, I was so focused on people. It was all I ever drew. And so I'd have these like semi-good looking characters and people, and everything else, like environments and things, just did not look good. So I'm pretty proud that my environments and my landscapes and things and doing all this extra studying is actually paying off. I talk about it a lot because I think it's really important, especially because I wish I would have listened to somebody when I was young that talked about, you know, studying and really making a daily study practice, because I didn't do it. I didn't have a sketchbook practice for so long. Like, it's still kind of one of those things that I almost like now wish I would have, because I think about all the things that I could have had. I use my sketchbooks in so many different ways. And I mean, if you watch a lot of my videos, if you watch a lot of these videos where I'm sitting and chatting, I just stress the importance of a sketchbook, because I didn't do it when I was young. So it's one of those things that it has helped me grow so much as an artist, and I'm so grateful for it. So I just continuously talk about it. But in that kind of same vein, I have really been focusing on watercolor, and the focus of the last year is really starting to pay off. I still am trying to figure out brushes. Like here on the spokes, I really struggled because I don't know. I just bought this brush down in Omaha at Blick, and I am frustrated because these brushes are supposed to be really great, and maybe I'm using them wrong because I can't get the tip to be tippy enough, if that makes sense, and pointed enough that like there aren't little pieces of hairs that stick. So I had a really hard time doing these lines. I had to think really a lot about where I was going to place these lines, how they were going to look. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have just went in with my pencil or with my pen, and that wouldn't have looked as, I don't know. I really love the artists, as I'm thinking about this stuff, I really love the artists who use only watercolor, and they've got their lines in watercolor. I am just not that good. So I'm trying to get that good, because it would be really cool to someday maybe do just a piece in watercolor. Because later on in the video, you'll see I do go back in with a colored pencil and really highlight some of the things, line the whole thing in colored pencil. And that was a choice too, because I was thinking about maybe doing it in ink and using some of my fountain pens, because I've been really getting into fountain pens lately. But I decided ultimately to use my colored pencils, because I love the look of colored pencil mixed with watercolor. I don't know why. It's kind of one of those things that I saw, gosh, what artists were doing it? I think Iraville. I really love her watercolor works. And she talked about in her book, I have her book, what is it called? I can't remember what her art book is called, but she talks about her process in using colored pencils in her watercolor. And I really enjoyed that kind of thought process behind using colored pencil with watercolor. Poopy Cat also, Kate does hers where she'll do just a light, super light, like lighter than most of the colors that I put down on here. I think maybe the pink shirt would be her lightness, but a light layer of watercolor, and then she will go over it in layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of colored pencil, and really get this cool looking textured look to her colored pencil, like watercolor illustrations. And I've done a couple that way, and I love the style and I love doing it. But I don't know, there's something to me for my work about using watercolor and letting it dry and doing the layers and getting that beautiful depth, especially because I've discovered how much I love really high quality, high pigmented watercolors. And so most of the colors that I'm using in my palette are Schmincke. However, there are some different brands. Like I have this one I'm mixing right now for her hair. I have a French Gray from American Journey, which is Cheap Joe's watercolor line, I think is what I think it's them, but I think it's American Journey, and it is called French Gray. So I mixed the French Gray with the Schmincke Yellow Ochre to kind of get this really, really nice looking color for a blonde hair that was a little bit more gray toned, because I love the look of gray toned blondes, especially because I have blonde hair. But I used to color my hair to make it look more like what this character does. I just haven't done it in a while. I want to go get my hair redone. It has been about 5.5 years since I've colored my hair, and I miss it. I miss doing that. And so anyway, and then to get the darker looks, I used a little bit of a warm brown and then added just a dash of Payne's Gray. I wanted that grayness, and I wanted it to be kind of a brownish gray, and I think it turned out so good. I am, like, of the things in this picture, I think I am most proud of the hair and how the hair turned out and the bite. I just really love the tones of the things that I did here. I'm just proud of this. It's really kind of one of those things where for so long I was always frustrated with how my things turned out, and things are starting to turn out the way that I want them, or just starting to turn out in a way that I'm proud of the way that they look. I'm proud of how far I have come. I'm proud of what I have learned and how much work I have put in. And it just makes me happy, is really, really all I can say about this. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And yeah, this piece is definitely inspired by Barbie. I have been feeling the pink since the Barbie movie, but I also have always loved pink. I have always loved this thing. I saw a dress that Paris Hilton was wearing in one of her advertisements for the Hilton motels. Is that what it is? Yes, Hilton hotels or motels. I can't remember the difference. I think it's hotels. And I loved, she had this like long maxi pink dress. It was this bright pink, kind of the color that the shirt is now. This will get darker pretty soon here because I've been working in different sections and layers. Here we go. But that pink, that undertone pink was the color that Paris Hilton's dress was. And oh, I just loved it. I ended up finding the commercial, screenshotting the picture of her walking with her dogs, and I sketched it in one of my sketchbooks last year. I need to pull it out and see if I can redo it because I think it'd be so much fun. But the pink has been such a inspiration for me that I have all these ideas for other paintings that I want to do. And this is the Schmincke's Opera Rose, this pink is, and I absolutely love it. So I've tried Daniel Smith's opera. His is just, Daniel Smith's opera is just too light. It is definitely one that you want to mix with things, but it doesn't get dark and bold like this one does. And I tried Winsor & Newton's. Winsor & Newton's is pretty darn good. It was the first one that I had, and it's not bad. It just doesn't have any granulation at all, which I am a granulation girl. I love the way that granulations work and look in a painting, especially when you look at them in person. And so I try to get as many granulating pigments as possible, and Winsor & Newton's pigments, of most of them, aren't very granulating, so it's not my favorite. I still use it because I have a bunch of Winsor & Newton's Opera, but I like the Schmincke a little bit better. I do also really like the Holbein's. Holbein's is super bright, but when you look closely up into it, it doesn't have as bright neon of granulation speckles. I love that bright neon granulation speckle. In the final pieces, like when you're looking at them online, you're not going to see that tiny little detail. So I don't mind using the Holbein, but if I'm going to pick one and I'm going to stick with it, it's definitely Schmincke's. Definitely hands down Schmincke. And it's so interesting because I don't as much like Schmincke's Payne's Gray. I do like it, but it's not my favorite. Like this is Holbein's Payne's Gray. The tires are the Holbein's Payne's Gray. I did like Winsor & Newton's until I discovered Holbein's, and I enjoy using it. The light grays in the piece are Holbein's Gray of Grays, and I discovered both the Holbein Payne's Gray and the Holbein's Gray of Gray from Natasha Newton here on the YouTube, and I really enjoy her Patreon. She does a swatch club tier, and I am part of that. And so she sent us the swatch of the Holbein Payne's Gray. She's actually sent us 6 different Payne's Grays, and I had to go get a tube for the Holbein because I absolutely adored it. And so I'm still figuring out what I like with watercolors, and I just like watercolors. So I have quite a collection. My friend said, I think you surpassed me. And she's the one who got me into watercolor. So it's kind of funny because I get a little obsessive. I will admit that. That is something where, so I have borderline personality disorder. I am not shy about sharing that. I have borderline personality disorder. It's a mental illness that's chronic. It's never going to go away. It's just how my brain is developed. I don't have as much emotional regulation as some people do. And so it's been trying to navigate that and understand myself since I got my diagnosis back in, when was it? It was just a few years ago. I can't remember when it was. I think it was 2020, 2021. But it's very new still to be diagnosed. But I get overly obsessive with things. And so when I like something like watercolor, I obsessively purchase and impulsively buy things, especially when I'm in Lowe's. And so I go a little overboard. And so I don't suggest this to normal people, but I'm a little overboard with my watercolors, which is okay because that means that I can share what I have discovered about certain watercolors and what I've discovered about things. And so there's a, good balance there. Right now, my current obsession is ink pens or ink and fountain pens. So yeah, this right here. So I am putting a little bit. This right here is Wintry Nights by Beam Paints. They just started releasing some of their paints, not all of their paints, in tubes. And so I was really excited. Beam Paints is an indigenous owned handmade watercolor company that is based in Canada. And they're like a maple syrup, honey based watercolor. Their watercolor is absolutely beautiful. And so this is Wintry Nights, and you cannot see it on camera, but I just wanted a little bit of shimmer. And so I used, the Wintry Nights is like a phthalo blue mixed with like a glimmer. And so I gave her pants a shimmer, but it also darkened them. And that makes me so happy. I love how it turned out. I wish you could see the shimmer on camera, but I did put a light layer so you can barely see it. I just wanted to try it out because I just got this Wintry Nights color. And so, yeah, speaking of getting colors, I actually was pretty good this time with Beam Paints. I only ordered the tube and 1 pan, and their pans come in like little wax cups. They're wax and fabric, so they're very much so about environmentally safe and friendly things like, and all of their paints come naturally from the environment. So I really feel great about supporting Beam. I just don't use their paint as often as I should because I like to create my own pans, like my own metal pan here. Like, I have a lot of colors and I like using a lot of colors. So now that they have their paints in tubes, I'm trying to stop myself from going crazy, but I had to get Wintry Nights because I've wanted it. My friend has it. She uses that and Dreamer's Gold by them quite often. She has used multiple half pans of the Dreamer's Gold, and it just makes her stuff so pretty. And I can't wait, because I've been talking about like the plan for like other ideas for this character. Still don't know her name, but I want to put her in an evening gown, and I have this idea of this beautiful like off-shoulder evening gown, kind of glitzy, glamorous, like old-time Hollywood, bright pink with the opera pink, but with the Dreamer's Gold over top. Or I've thought about using, I have this really amazing ink for my ink pens, but you can also use the ink because it is water-based. You can use the ink like a watercolor, and that has this, it's called Las Vegas Colorverse brand, and that has this like super light pink with the gold shimmery, and I just want to play with pink and gold shimmer. So you'll see that probably soon, maybe here on YouTube if I get it filmed, or Instagram. I'm not positive, but this girl is not going away anytime soon. I have plans for her. I don't know what my plans are, but just a little series of art, because she is kind of my iteration from Barbie, and my inspired by Barbie, because, you know, that's where we're at. So yeah. And now I finished all of the color on the watercolor. I added only a couple layers of watercolor, and obviously I do not draw this fast. I do not paint this fast. This is definitely sped up, but I wanted to make sure this video was around the 30-minute mark. And so I hope that you're enjoying this. I hope that you enjoy my chatting and my rambling, because some of this stuff doesn't even make sense to me. So if you're like, wait, what was she talking about? I'm sorry, that's just how my brain works. I kind of squirrel moment, and then I come back. And so I hope you enjoy that, because that's just who I am. And if you're here and listening to my videos, I hope you're enjoying who I am, because I'm just trying to be real and honest and here. And so if you can see on the side here on the left where I'm drawing, yes, I am left-handed too, so makes things kind of difficult. But here on the left, I had some of my ink pens out. These are my Twisbees, and I think I had one more that wasn't a Twisbee. But my Twisbee pens have my Rohrer and Klingner ink in them, and I really like the Rohrer and Klingner ink because it is waterproof, so I can let it dry and then paint. And I do that sometimes. I just haven't been feeling ink with watercolor lately. However, I flop and change all the time. I am still kind of figuring out what my favorite is, how I enjoy working, and what I enjoy doing. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know. But I do love the way that the softness of colored pencil as lines looks. It's so soft, and it's just like almost like it blends in with the watercolor, but it's like a little bit darker of a pigment. I don't know how to explain it, but I do love it. I do love it. And so yeah, but I did pull out my TWSBIs there for a second, and I thought, oh, maybe I will do it this way, and then I didn't. And that's okay, because I am still figuring out, like I said, still figuring out what I like and what I want to do as I'm thinking about my larger scale projects. I definitely think I love watercolor. I don't think I love watercolor. I know I love watercolor, and I have invested time and resources and money into growing as a watercolor artist, and it's been a lot of fun. I highly, highly recommend picking one medium and getting real good at it, kind of, and then switching. That's kind of how I'm doing things, and I'm finding that when I focus, I'm getting much better and much faster. And so I've been focusing so much on watercolor, and I flip every once in a while. Like, I've been doing more alcohol marker stuff lately in my sketchbook, and that's been kind of fun. I've missed my alcohol markers. I have Ohuhu and Copic. I actually prefer the Ohuhus, which is kind of surprising, but it's a nice thing to know because they are less than half the price of one Copic marker. So I really like them, but I also really like watercolor, and so it's just been kind of figuring out what I like, and that's fun. I haven't done a lot of digital work this past year, and honestly, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna keep going this way without doing digital. So yeah, I don't know. Traditional just feels, I love the feeling of how the paper and the different kinds of paper and the different kinds of mediums feel. There's something special about putting pen to a paper rather than an iPad. Don't get me wrong, I do love my iPad, but yeah. So that is about my process for today. I really have no idea what I talked about. I'm sorry if I rambled and I was completely incoherent, but that's just who I am. And so I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going over this with Posca, and then it will be pretty much done. So thank you so much for following along with my silly ramblings. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe if you want more from me. Otherwise, just, have a great day, and I hope you enjoy whatever it is that you're doing next. Bye.